Hello out there. My name is Laolu Akonde, and you are on to Inside Sources. Today, I'm skipping my take essentially because of time constraint. But on Sunday, by the grace of God, I'm going to be looking at two specific issues. I'm going to be looking at the fate of Governor El-Rufai and the cry from the family that his rights should be protected. I'm going to juxtapose that with how he treated people when he was governor and all the circumstances of that. And secondly, I'm going to be asking David Umahi, the Honorable Minister of Works, to address all these very grave allegations about the circumstances of the death of Miss Mary Abila in his house and what ought to happen going forward. But then, today, Inside Sources will be right back with two major interviews, including the conclusion of the one that we started on Sunday. Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back to Inside Sources. Today, I'm leading the show with a return guest because we want to focus on what is happening in Benue State. The killings have been persistent. These past few days, we had quite another large amount of people who have been killed. And also to talk about the state police and some of the controversies that have come out of the Orire Oyo State rescue. To join me in that conversation, that important set of conversations, we have Mr. Fatai Owosheni, who was the former police commissioner in Benue State and then in Lagos State, and who had also served as special advisor on security matters in Oyo State. I'd like to welcome back to Inside Sources my dear brother, Mr. Owosheni. Good to see you again.
Thank you so much, my brother.
All right.
And congratulations on that award in the United States.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. Let's start from the Benue situation. And the reason I want us to start is because you spent quite a bit of time as police commissioner in Benue. So you are very familiar with some of this conflict. The killings have not abated. It is persistent. What, in your view, is the missing link? Why, in your view, is this continuing? Let's start like that.
I spent just a brief period in Benue State. I spent 9 months there.
Okay.
But that is not to say that within that 9 months, it's not as if it wasn't enough for me to have an assessment of what is going on in the state. To me, going directly to your question, what's the missing link? The missing link will be the people. And why am I saying the people? It is one thing to have all structure put in place, security structure. It is another thing for the people to, buy into the security structure you have put in place. And who are the people? Not just the elites, the big names in Benue. And Benue has so many of them in government that can make changes. Quite a number of security special operations have been put in place. The operation Ayagba Tuma also that started when I was there. So many things have also been done by the police. Somehow too, so many, a kind of introspection, appraisal has been done. Because as the principal staff officer in Force Headquarters to the Inspector General of Police and working in the Department of Operations, as far back as then, high-powered team.
You're talking of what year now?
This was like around 2012, 2013. Okay. One of the very senior officers that led one of the, the operation to find out what is actually happening in the North Central and especially Benue State, starting with the farmers and others clashes, was the retired DIG Zokuma. And, a report came out. As of that time, it was so worrisome that we felt that the number of lives, the losses we've recorded with regards to others farmers clashes would even be far higher than in other crises before Boko Haram thing came, because the farmers others clashes spread all over as well. Even beyond Nigeria, they used to have it in Ghana. And why am I saying this? I always like to do institutional memory. And my brief period in Benue State too, with what we've done, it's obvious that the people don't trust the government again. They don't even trust the security people, such that when you deploy, I remember very well that the former governor of Benue State, His Excellency Governor Hotom, as of the time the military wanted to start that Operation Whirlpool or so, he resisted it. Because even as a governor, he did not trust the system. And that was why he was always
and he was in an opposing party then?
No, he was in APC before he went to PDP. So he resisted it at first. As of that time, he didn't know who to trust again. I even remember very well that when I was posted, it was at the height of that serious killings. When I was posted, the first thing he said, yes, I know you are a Yoruba man, but you are a Muslim. You have come to continue with what the Fulanis are doing. And of course, because you're a Muslim, you will join them. It wasn't until when he saw what we were doing, because I went there with the sole aim of, I wasn't going there to start, colorating what was happening. Everybody was saying, Fulani had us. No, I went there, did my homework, and I'm like, okay, we had a problem. Insurgents, bandits. I wasn't seeing any ethnic group. I was seeing the criminal elements, and those were the ones we dealt with. But going around all the IDP camps as well, you will see it in the people that even before they accept you, it's like before they accept anybody, any commissioner of police, they want to see what you are bringing in. Are you being
are you for them or against?
Remotely controlled from Abuja or whatever. So it requires that whoever that is going there, you have to demonstrate that you're a professional and you know what you are doing. So why did I say the people are not connecting? Even the traditional rulers, at a point in time, before they got rid of Ghana, at a point in time, you cannot discuss Ghana in Makurdi.
Who is Ghana?
Ghana, the notorious criminal that even led to the killing of those policemen when we had that issue.
In Benue.
Yes, now. So Ghana was the kingpin of criminality. Yes, some people would say this administration brought him in, he surrendered. They made him part of the local security architecture. He was using that to
That's the autumn administration.
Starting from even when Governor Tusua was there, even when the President SGF was there, Ghana had been a recurrent figure. Before this Wadume boy came, Ghana was the main thing in Benue State before, such that when you are discussing in Makurdi, people would tell you, they more or less canonize him, or they turn him into a spirit, that if both of us are talking now and we mention Ghana, they believe that Ghana is listening to us.
And which ethnic stock?
Tiv.
Okay.
Yes.
So it's not Fulani.
It's not Fulani. So they believe Ghana was there. Then you now had people that they said they believe were working for some ethnic group. So Benue is a complex place. And unfortunately, that is a place we should focus attention on. So many resources. You have the grazing land that is rich, and that is why the cattle rearers always go there at a particular time. So we must get the people to buy into it. And that is the emphasis we are laying, that it's not about state police, even when we support it, that it's about a whole society approach. A whole society approach is getting the buy-in of the people. They must sit down to say we want this thing to stop.
Okay, all right. Before we leave that topic and we come to state police, I wanted to ask you, you spent 9 months
yes.
there officially. What is your own response to the allegation that what is happening in Benue is that you have Fulani militia or Fulani people trying to take their land, trying to take their farmland, and all of that, and I like your approach that you went there professionally, you saw criminals and you're dealing with them. But what is your own, now that you are out, what's your reflection? Because that allegation is very, very is strong out there. As a matter of fact, there are those who make the claim that a lot of what is happening in Benue and Plateau and other parts of the country is a supremacist agenda of that particular ethnic stock. I want to know your own reflection on this.
I also don't want to buy into that. That's looking for an easy way out. Historians would come and tell you that some of this thing, some of the allegations and insinuations have historical background. And when you talk of Fulani as well, we should know that there are two types of Fulanis. Because when you stereotype, and it also relates, it can connect to where things happen and religion coming, that they say Muslims are this. That was why we were not able to solve the problem of Boko Haram easily. When for every attack that happened in Borno State in the northeast, they'll say Muslims, Fulanis, and whatever. Meanwhile, these people are also killing Muslims.
Yeah.
So by the time you stereotype and you now colorate it to say it's a particular religion or it's a particular tribe.
I think in Borno is more of Kanuris.
No, but
although
the religious thing, Muslims.
Yeah.
So you now find out that the good ones will run away from you because the good ones that can give you intelligence, they will say, if I go and meet security people, they will say because I'm a Muslim, I'm one of them. So you must first stop colorating. Then in Benue State, the historical aspect of it is for everybody, adults, if you ask them, thief people and whatever, they will say the Munchi thing. Munchi, the translation, I think, is a thief word, is that the Fulanis of those days, who said when they rear their cows, the thief people will attack them, rustle their cows. And then when they rustle their cows, they will be looking at them, they will slaughter the cows, make their pounded yam, and they will be using the rustle cows that they've slaughtered to eat their pounded yam. That is where Munchi came in. So it has always been there. But within Benue State as well, just like in some other parts of this country, you also have this ethnic divide. Sometimes the thief people and the Doma people don't agree. You have the third tribe there that they don't agree. There is the other tribe, I've forgotten now, that they see as an outcast also. So you have that playing out in Benue State. So the issue of whether anybody wants to colorate, we must first accept that all of us are from Benue. Between Benue and Taraba, I can tell you that between those two states, you will find out that if they do a research, that is probably where the highest number of locally fabricated weapons, where we have the highest concentration. And you have the Cameroon border as well, that they infiltrate these things. Even without the Fulani, there has been age-long war, fight between the Tiv and the other tribes. And that is why in Taraba State, you also have that pressure. So the people in Benue State must sit down to say, we are tired. We don't want these killings. They have the highest number of IDP camps, such that people are even going to IDP camps. So if you are saying it is Fulani supremacy thing, that they want to take over land, there are the indigenous traditional Fulanis that have been living in that place. Sit down with them. And of course, we've not also been able to distinguish Fulanis and Hausas. People don't know the difference. So whichever way, we must all sit down as Nigerians to say we want to stop. The traditional rulers, there are some traditional rulers in Benue State that will say the truth to authority. So the people that have been governing Benue State, I think it was recently, I don't know whether it's the VP or so, that also made a remark that Benue State, the tension in Benue State is too much. Even amongst the people that are from Benue, take the Fulani factor out of it first. There is a lot of tension there, political tension. So they must work together. The people must sit down.
All right.
A whole society approach and say, we want to stop. We don't want this killing again.
All right. Because of our time, let's move on to, I wanted you to talk about state police and possibly what happened in Oyo State. Now, on Sunday we had Professor Chinyere Dikalu made quite a number of points about state police, about how he believes that this should not happen before the election, that how this should be managed in a transparent manner. I know that in our previous discussion, you two had made some very important points about state police. So I wanted to ask you, do you think that the procedure, is proper? Should we rush this thing? Must it come before the election? Or what's your take on some of the things that Professor Dikalu said?
I listened to the erudite professor. Fantastic. He had made valid points, just like someone like me has been talking, that you don't just, we like rushing things. Fire brigade approach in Nigeria. That's our style all throughout. So what we are saying is that the people, without prejudice, and I'm sorry to say this, even the National Assembly and other people that are put together to work on this paper, we want state police. It is an idea whose time has come. What much do they know about the police we even have presently? Have they looked at the history of the present police? How did it evolve? Evolving from an oppressive instrument of the colonialists to this. Have we changed that narrative? Because as of the time they were living, it's as if you hand over, this police structure to another oppressor, which the political elites and Nigerians are using now. That is why you will see one person carrying 30 policemen following him with guns, harassing people all over. So you have to first look at the history. None of them, I'm sorry to say, I wonder how many of the people in the National Assembly even know what the history of the police is. And how did we get to where we got to? I've always cited example. Was it in 1979 or whatever, Second Republic, where you had an Anambra state, where the governor, I think it was Governor Nwobodo, with Bishop Eyitene, where the governor wanted to hijack the whole structure and said, in the state house premises, I want the place to be fortified. I want this number of policemen, and this is the list of the policemen I want. And the commissioner of police said, no, sir, Excellency, you can tell me that there are security challenges. As the operational commander, I need to go and do my own security assessment. That is what made me to know how many number of policemen, and not to even attach the names of the policemen who are from your own ethnic group. And that was what led to the Willing Commission. Have we addressed that? In the Southwest as well, they also saw what they were using the Native Authority police to do. So go back
in the First Republic.
Yes, in the First Republic. Go back to all this first. What has made the police to be what they were talking now? I am sad and I feel bad when everybody comes out to say it is the incompetence of the present police that is making them to talk of state police. Who made the police incompetent? Is it not the same police that investigated Odozie Obodo, Akpalara case, that performed well in the United Nations? What has made them to be incompetent? Incompetent to the benefit of the people that are ruling us. Nobody, I am saying it, I stand to be challenged. I don't think the people that are ruling even wants the police to be good, to be the police that the members of the public desire.
Because it is serving their own interest.
It's serving their own interest. They can manipulate things. So when you look at all these things, I think we are not starting right. I've listened to debate on the floor of the National Assembly where they were saying, oh, it will bring quick response. It will bring in people that know the vicinity. What quick response? Quick response is determined by the infrastructure in the community. Do you have motorable roads? Do you have vehicles and whatever? If all the areas you want to access, because the response time in security is determined by you having serviceable vehicle, motorable roads, accessibility, where the response team can get there, where you can do visibility. When they are talking of knowledge of the area, I've also cited example of most police commands today. Let them go and check. Most of them have indigenes of the state. We've done it before. Go back to your state, which they also spoiled. If you serve in an area for between 10, 15 years, is that not enough for you to be familiar? So, and we also now have to talk of, even when you want to recruit, we've not solved the problem of our wonky federalism. Are you going to recruit as per resident? Look at Amotekun, for example. I'm from Oyo State, and of course, you know, in Ibadan, a situation where sometimes the people in Sabo don't trust our Amotekun because we said our Amotekun must be for your state people. And you are talking of community policing, local policing. State police is different from state policing. So if you say, oh, you are recruiting, it has to be just the indigenes of the place. How much, me, that I'm from Ibadan, how much of Sabo do I know? The nooks and cranny of Sabo in Ibadan. How much of it do I know? So these are things that they have to, and I've read the bill to an extent. There are still a lot of work to do. We've also said there are old people that were there when 1957 Wheeling Commission was put up. There were people that have served before, either as policemen or not. Put them together, take their view. I don't know whether it's the proper thing. Some people had said they didn't even subject the bill to public hearing. And what I've seen with our National Assembly is that even if they subject a bill to public hearing, they've already have their mindset. So how do you explain that that bill was brought, it was rushed? We shouldn't rush. It is desirable. We should have it. The president has good intention. The president is actually trying to do devolution of power. But when we are doing it, we must do it methodically, not to rush it. I know why people are shouting. Is this going to solve our security problem? Capital N-O. No.
Very, very, very big point. But because of our time, I'd like to ask you the last question, on the Uriire or Oyo State rescue, which seems to be, everything seems to have gone well. But then Governor Makinde seems to have ruffled feathers when he called for a UN investigation. And then, of course, some people are even saying that, this thing is looking like a movie. I think it's real. I want to have, what's your take to these controversies?
I can say it is real. It is because of trust deficit, governance gap, that is making our people not to trust the government and by extension the security people. And it's now worsened when the chief executive of the state is indirectly buying into that idea that it wasn't real. Because by making that statement, what our governor is saying that it's not real. By saying, oh, yes, I know that you people put up a structure. You said you do Hong Kong style to rescue these people, but I still want to an international organization to come and look into this. As a person from Oyo State and coming from Ibadan, I'm sad. Why am I sad? We're talking of people that are already traumatized, and we are coming with all sort of senseless conspiracy theory. That's the way I would put it. We are talking of a situation where those people, some of them are still in the hospital. They don't know yet whether all of them will still be alive because of certain things they've gone through. Some people had said to me, Yes, that when they were bringing them out, they were laughing. That is why it was state managed. We are also talking of an operation where we lost security personnel.
Yeah.
So when you come up with
That kind of,
narratives like that
insinuations.
and conspiracy theory and such insinuations, you are going to demoralize the security people as well. Are you saying that someone out there, probably at the federal level, at the local level, sat down, planned that operation in order to subject those people to that trauma they went through, to subject our security personnel to be killed? It is very unfair. I think we should stop it. We should not start politicizing things like this. And by the way, as well, is it necessary? Sit down. Investigation is ongoing. It was clear that the GOC said it, that look, even with the drones, we were not able to do much. We had to do grand operation. We had to go and look for the families of this criminal element.
Right.
And it is not new in security operation. In Lagos State, when I had those militant Niger Delta boys kidnap some students, I can tell you, I went as far as to go and pick a 1-month-old child of the leader of the kidnap gang to say, look, if you do anything, if you touch any of these kids you kidnap, we will also make sure that we touch your child. We carry the wives, their father, their grandfather. It's not new in operation. So these narratives, I want to beg us, Nigerians as a whole, politicians, please don't let us add insult to all these things. These people, let them heal. Some of them may not heal forever. We pray we don't experience such thing. Right. The families of the soldier and some other security operatives that were killed, please give them succor. If you continue to come up with these insinuations, you are making the life of those families more miserable. The teacher that was beheaded as well. We should be talking of how do we, strengthen this game to make sure that we remain proactive, that these things don't happen again. How do we do an after-action review to see that the operations, the methods used, whatever method, the concept can be translated into other places. Borno still have people in captivity. Kwara still have people in captivity. So how do we do this? All those narratives, even I would beg the media as well. Look at what happened 2-3 days ago, where some people came out to say, immediately after the rescue of these Orire people, one headmaster has also been kidnapped in Igbojai. They made it to look as if the headmaster was picked in school, putting fears into people. It's an headmaster that went to his farm, coming from his farm, that was kidnapped. We are not saying kidnap or abduction should happen. But immediately thereafter, they also rescue him. People did not talk about the rescue. It's about another headmaster has been killed. We should stop this. We should help our country.
Absolutely.
Someone had asked me, what should we do to give confidence to be sending their children to school? And I said, look, almost on a daily, weekly basis, a gunman had entered a school in Texas, in California, and killed 15 persons. And we Nigerians, the big men, we are still sending our children to school in America. We didn't stop because of that. So we should help ourselves in this country.
Thank you so much. Very important point, and like you've also said, we still have a lot of work to do to build our institutions. But of course, we should not do anything that can worsen the situation.
That is the important thing. In all this conversation, even our elite, let them go back to the fundamental principle of state policy in the Constitution. If you can do 80% of what is contained in the fundamental principle of state policy, which also is in tandem with the United Nations right of people and whatever, that talks about good governance. We have every element of good governance in our Constitution, which we've jettisoned, which we've overlooked. Let the people ruling us even, do that. 75% of it, if you are able to do it,
will be good.
Nigeria will be better.
Thank you so much, Mr. Fatai Owusheni, former police commissioner both in Lagos and Benue State, and also Special Advisor on Security in Oyo State.
In Oyo State.
Thank you for coming to Inside Sources. Thank you for the insight that you've shared, even on the issue of Benue, and thank you for all your contributions.
Thank you so much. It's always interesting coming here. We need to keep on talking to Nigerians.
Absolutely.
That we should be hopeful.
Absolutely.
You know, I mentioned the last time, we are not overwhelmed. We can solve our problem.
I agree.
With our own internal mechanism. And Nigeria will,
Nigeria will prevail.
Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Usheni. And I'll be coming on the second segment with a final conversation, the final part of the conversation that I started on Friday with Reverend Laddie Thompson. This second part is quite explosive. Inside Sources will be right back. Welcome back. You remember that I had said at last edition that I was going to continue my conversation with Reverend Laddie Thompson. So we are going to get on that. Reverend Thompson, you know, the last time we spoke, you just concluded your own review of what the Buhari years meant to the identification and dealing with the problem. And in that edition, you have spoken about the fact that as a nation, we are struggling with identifying who the enemy is in this terrorism, extreme violence, banditry, whatever it is that is causing so much insecurity in our country. So I want to ask you a follow-up question that, in your view, what's changed with the emergence of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, okay? Somebody from a different part of the country, the southern part of the country. Did that bring any change in the official perspective, identifying who the enemy is? You know, what's your view? Let's start from there.
Well, again, I'm a man who believes in mathematizing the inquiry. And when I look at the captaincy of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu in an objective manner, if at all there's any slight improvement, it is practically imperceptible. I'll tell you why I say so. I would have thought, based on his reputation and sagacity political, that when he came in, the first thing he would have done for us is to correct that fundamental crime in a counterinsurgency when you have not definitely and decisively defined the enemy. We thought that any serious-minded medical doctor would immediately find a proper diagnosis so that whatever he says afterwards would show that he knows what he's doing. Whether it's the Boko Haram, Ansaru, Al-Swap, Dakurawa, JNIM, the Mahmuda, or any of these groups, they are not ambiguous about their objectives. They are not. So calling them even that Western coinage, Boko Haram, is detrimental to the future of Nigeria. Now, why am I saying this? The first thing I thought Ahmed Bola Tinubu would do is that we would explain to this country that this terrorist hydra is actually not a religious problem. It takes the eye of experts to draw this out. We are dealing with a supremacist agenda. The supremacist agenda is wearing a religious cover. More than 12 years ago, I mentioned that in the latter hours, it will start killing Muslims as well. When I said that to the current presidents more than 10 years ago, they said, but you pointed out. I said, yes, I'm the one who talked about the Takia, the Kitman, and all these shenanigans. But the truth is, it is actually a supremacist agenda wearing the cloak of religion. Now, I thought that any serious-minded commander-in-chief, the first thing you want us to do is to blow the religious cover. Do you know that if we blow the religious cover of this problem, right now, within 3 weeks, 6 weeks, we would have decapacitated it to a very high degree just by blowing the religious cover.
What do you mean about that? What does that entail, Reverend?
Well, blowing the religious cover, you see, the major power of this global hydra, the major area where it has made progress is in the war of narratives. What it does is that it collapses nations from within by dividing the nation along religious lines. So when you don't allow it to divide the nation along religious lines, when you resist that, what you have will be cooperation between the religions. When you have cooperation between the religions and a cohesive effort can now be, established when the religions cooperate. Now, what does that do? First of all, the recruitment strategy is in trouble. The financials will be in trouble. Why? Because a lot of people who are sympathetic to its cause will not be if it loses the war of narratives. But what we have done is that instead of fighting a chemical fire the proper way, we have been trying to use water to drench a chemical fire. So if President Ahmed Tinubu had come in and had said, for instance, look at the policy. You capture terrorists in the fields who have been killing Nigerian army soldiers. Then you take them to one so-called place and you tell us that you have written a policy, a magical policy to de-radicalize them. And then you bring them and put them within, absorb some of them into the Nigerian army. Now, do you see that reeks of a deliberate strategy? And let me tell you what this opens up President Ahmed Tinubu to. Let me tell you this clearly, very clearly, because this is going to become common knowledge in the days to come. Having looked at his appointments, having watched his refusal to establish the proper procedures of the security architecture, when I look at the political compromises he had to make for him to ascend to the throne, if there's anything, we want to remind people that he himself was actually the first person to suggest to Buhari that there should be a Muslim ticket. Even Muhammad Buhari did not have the nerve to pursue a Muslim ticket. Now, the juggernaut, what we saw him do was that he was able to put in a reputable Christian as a placeholder. And when the time came, this is the person who went back to the Muslim ticket, having prepared ahead for it for decades, obviously. Now, what does this imply? What it implies is very simple. The Emiloko covenant was a public announcement that had many meanings. To the global community, the Emiloko seemed to be a kite that was floated to nations like Turkey, whose activities we are aware of in Nigeria, Iran, whose activities we are aware of in Nigeria, who are supporters of the hydra. He seemed to be floating a kite to them that, listen, what Muhammad Buhari did not have the nerve to do, I am able to achieve it for you. But let me have my own turn, because my ambition is to be the president of Nigeria. And even if I have to continue your agenda to secure my ambition, I will do this for you. Now, don't forget, when Mrs. Olakuri was killed by the Fulani, by a fashion artist's daughter, if you remember that incident?
Yes.
It was an opportunity for us to see him roar with righteous indignation. But we remember his responses then. So if you join the dots, I don't want Nigeria to be surprised if he ends up being the one to facilitate. I said to you, this is a supremacist agenda. It's not religious. Please do your research, sir. Go and get the letters written by El Kanemi, Usman Danfodio, in 1804. So you will know that it is not religious, it is supremacist. You are going to ask me what could be the possible profit of a man like Bola Ahmed Tinubu. I believe that he must be one of the wealthiest men in Africa. And if you want to protect wealth into generations, I believe it is better protected under an Islamic republic than a democratic republic.
Okay, Reverend. Okay, let me just interject, just so we can interrogate this a little bit more broadly. So, when we talk about the supremacist agenda, it is something that clearly, the leaders of thought in the South will not, apparently be a party to. You would expect. And when you look at the advocacy in the South, pushing for the restructuring of the country, to say that, look, let's have a country where, we can do our stuff and others can do their stuff. All of that could be seen to be some kind of a pushback to a situation where it's being loaded over from the center. And Bola Ahmed Tinubu, who is quite very ambitious and wouldn't make any pretension about that, was integral in that advocacy to say, look, let's restructure the country. Let each region, as it were, be able to do what it needs to do. Let us reduce the stuff that we have to do together at the center. Now, my view, and I'll let you respond, Reverend, is that my view is that, Bola Ahmed Tinubu wanted power and he would do whatever he needs to do at the level of getting the support of the North and the South to win an election. But you will have to persuade me that a Bola Ahmed Tinubu will succumb to a supremacist agenda that relegates his own people. Reverend.
I don't think that's very difficult, if you ask me. I told you that on the 12th of July in 2019, we saw his response to the murder of Power Fashion was his daughter by Fulani militia. We saw the way he tailored his position, which showed us that his personal ambition obviously overrides any patriotic sentiments that you are talking about. Not only that, if we mathematize inquiry and look into his antecedents, we'll find that there's a tilt towards mendacity. It's a very nice way of saying that he could be economical with the truth in the pursuit of his agenda. Now, the years he has had so far in rulership has not showed any change, drastic change in his character profile, so to speak. And if you remember that he did say then that he was here to continue whatever Buhari was doing, go back into your archives and go and utterances.
He said that, and I'm sorry for interjecting, just quickly. I think that is a political statement, Reverend. That's my interpretation. It's a political statement, not to delink himself from the northern interest whose support he needs. But please go ahead, sir.
Okay, that's very good. You can say that, but I'm going to say something to you. I remember I had a meeting with the 6 governors of the southwestern states about 12 years ago. What year was when this man, his last tenure in Ekiti State? What's his name again? He was on that place.
Fayemi.
The late Ajimobi was at that meeting.
Are you talking of Governor Fayemi?
No, before him.
Okay, that would be Fayoshe.
Fayoshe, the petrol. Now was at that meeting as well. At that security meeting, I made it very clear that the infiltration of the Southwest was already complete as far back as there.
Wow.
The forests were already occupied. The movement of troops was already in place. Some of the terror attacks carried out in northern Nigeria, it was leaders who were stationed in southern Nigeria that were going across to northern Nigeria to execute terrorist activities, to lead teams. as far back as that time. Now, if the shoestring budget that we had operating on the platform of religious liberties from the Khan position, if we could gather all that information and see all that, and I remember that meeting, I even suspect satellite imagery of the movement of these people was even available at that time. Now, if people in political office, leadership at that time knew all this, are you trying to tell me that any of this was concealed from the Jagaban? Now, I'm asking us a simple question. The few years in between here, are we saying, based on the strength of the Southwest, the Southwest is supposed to be the custodian of religious liberties in Nigeria? You ask me.
Yeah.
But we are dealing with somebody who left Nigeria, went to Turkey. We all know what Turkey's role is on the global stage. Erdogan, the leader of Turkey, I don't think makes any great secret. It is even said in circles that he believes that he's the Mahdi. We know the exchanges between his country and this country. Now, why on earth would you refuse to decisively, name the terrorist, giving room for you to continue what Buhari started with Turkey? Now, I'm going to ask you a question.
Yeah.
If I look at his track record, talking about a man who, when it comes to education, there's so much obfuscation all over the whole place. In fact, somebody was cracking a joke the other day, not a very expensive joke, because we are dealing with the president of the country here, that who am I? I'm 74 years old, my junior sister is 84, and my eldest daughter is 63 or something like that. And it did dawn on me that our president does not have a track record for honest dealing or truth-telling within the country, not globally. Now, if we look at that character profile and we look at the fact that there's a lot of wealth that has been built up, is it impossible that a man would rather guard his wealth into generations than try to go into something that will not protect his wealth? Because I can assure you that if I was given an option, if my priority was protecting a few $1 billion, for instance, and I want my great-great-grandchildren to meet that money, I will sue for an Islamic republic. Why? Because the classification systems between rich and poor is better defined than in a democratic republic where there's greater fluidity.
Okay, Reverend.
Rule out that possibility.
Okay.
Is it possible to rule it out?
Well, I will leave it there, because clearly you have greater depth in these things than myself, and I don't make any pretensions about it. I'm trying to limit myself to the things, that are in the open, to make an argument. And that's why, and I don't dismiss your thesis, it's something that requires quite a lot more reflection. But I wanted to also ask you that, so in line with what I said before, many people in the southern part of this country, even in the middle belt, and now eventually even in the core north, are beginning to welcome and embrace the ideas, some of the ideas of restructuring, namely, for example, state police. Now, I felt that that the president was not bullish enough on the question of state police, because now it's over 3 years. I felt it's something that he could have done in his first year, and he did quite some few things. I mean, when he picked the reform bills, the tax reform bills, and the National Economic Council that is composed of governors said, no, we don't want it. The man said, no, it's going to happen. So he was bullish. So I have said publicly that the president was not bullish enough on state police. But guess what? We have now gotten to the point where he has made a significant move. State police is going to happen, probably, even within a year. Who knows? But so the question is that he is pushing those things that are restructuring the country, you know, is pushing devolution of powers that will take powers away and resources away from the center to the regions or the subnationals, as the case may be. That doesn't sound to me like something that can redound to a theocratic, you know, Islamic-based supremacist agenda, Reverend Thompson.
Thank you. Again, I had a conversation with the late Ahmed Joda on this issue of state police. And I remember that I too was very enthusiastic, like the typical Southerner was, until he educated me his days in Ibadan. He spoke to me about the days of state police, and he pointed out to me the degree of corruption that was available in the so-called native authority. I can't remember what they were called then. That was the late Ahmed Joda. So when I listened to him, I remember that I had to temper my expectations. Now, if you ask me, this kind of moves are what I call distractions. Let me explain what I mean by that. When you want to control men, there are two major things, toggles, that are used in the conditioning of masses. The dread of pain and the anticipation of pleasure. You see, the fear of pain is more powerful than pain. That's why when you weaponize poverty, you do something to a people, which has been done. Secondly, when you make people anticipate a pleasure, they are themselves will begin to build castles in the air. What I'm saying is that fact for fact, when we look at his maneuverings politically, we seem to be dealing with a maestro who understands human nature, who understands compromise. Now, if we were dealing with a visionary leader, which is what Nigeria needs right now.
I have an idea, you know, what the answer may be, but I hope it to ask you. Now, Pastor E. Adeboye has been very consistent lately in trying to make a position that, look, what we have to do as a nation, people and government, is to go after the sponsors of terrorism. I think he said that on a number of public occasions, including recently in Washington, D.C., you know, where he spoke at an event where he was honored. I said that, look, we have to go after the sponsors of terrorism. That the sponsors, regardless of how influential they are, those are the people that government should go after. I want to ask you, Reverend, do you think that the Bola Ahmed Tinubu government has the courage to go after the sponsors of terrorism in Nigeria? Last question. And I'd like you to give me a summarized answer because of our time.
Definitely, Bola Ahmed Tinubu has the courage, but does not have the incentive. Obviously. Secondly, when I listened to Pastor Adeboye's speech in Washington, I couldn't make the meeting, but I was around. There was only one little discordant note in his address, which has been consistent. The American intervention was repeatedly captured by Pastor Adeboye as America wants to attack us. In northern Nigeria, the Christians were saying, America wants to rescue us. You see, to the untrained ear, you may listen to his speech and not pick out that particularity. But when he kept reporting that America wants to attack us and have advised the government, he does what he means, don't let them attack us. The message that goes to the global community is that Donald Trump's American intervention is unwanted in Nigeria. It is illegal. It is undesirable. And it could not have been a Christian genocide, really, if the speech pattern of one of the foremost leaders of the church in the country consistently asserts that America wants to attack us. I didn't understand that, and if I had an opportunity, this is a question I would have loved to raise for him, interrogate, because saying that we should go after financiers of terror is stating the obvious. But what I don't understand is that as a church leader, did he see the American intervention as a divine intervention to save the lives of Christians in his primary constituency? Or did he really see it as an act of aggression against the sovereignty of Nigeria, totally severed away from the devaluation of human worth and the abuse of religious liberties?
It did say, Reverend, because I was also at the event. I think the summary that I took out of his comment was that America should get some kind of global efforts going to help Nigeria deal with the insecurity. And I think if you look at that speech, which was over 30 minutes, you wouldn't miss that aspect. That he said that, look, as a matter of fact, he called on other countries, other European countries, United Kingdom, Switzerland, to join America to help. I think it was very clear on one thing, Reverend, that America should help Nigeria, but that America should actually not be the only one helping us, because I was also there at the event. Reverend.
Thank you. I wouldn't want to push the point. You know that Pastor Adeboye is a father to all of us. He's somebody that I respect a lot. He's a person that I admire myself. However, when it comes to the bloodshed that's going on in the country, I find out that we owe Jesus Christ a degree of objectivity. And I have access to foreign assessments of his speech in Washington.
Okay. You and I are united in the view that, yes, there is genocide in Nigeria. Is the reason why we fought in the United States, when I was the executive director of the Christian Association of Nigerian Americans, to get the Boko Haram to be designated. I must let you know that Pastor Adeboye was the one that asked us to do that job. But thank you for coming to Inside Sources, my brother and respected security expert. And thank you for your voice. Thank you for the brilliance and the incisive analysis that you always bring. And thank you for coming to Inside Sources once again.
Pleasure has been mine.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. And there you have it, another edition of Inside Sources. Like we always say, Nigeria will prevail. It means Nigeria will win, partly because we will be talking about the major issues. Thank you for watching. My name is Laolu Akonde. And by the grace of God, I'll see you at the next edition.